in terms of cloud and compliance and security topics. It's only a kind of idea to structure all the questions that we might face once coming to projects. So I have taken the old-fashioned pencil and paper works because I made some notes from the speakers before, not to promise that I'll listen to you carefully, but simply, making sure that I would like to emphasize on some topics that go a little bit beyond. What I understood before was that you mentioned quite frequently that cloud technology has characteristics in terms of agility, flexibility, leading to be strategic-oriented, and certainly being integrated. And of course, we learned that cloud technology has a lot of dimensions to be considered in terms of implementation, in terms of cost factors, in terms of fixed costs and variable costs and whatever. Now, the problem is, once it comes to processes, and I'm in the business consulting piece of SAP, the problem is that once it comes to processes, you have to face the same dimensions on top, because processes do need to be flexible, do need to be agile in terms of process models. They need to be kind of efficient, they need to be effective, they need to support the overall value chain, and on top, they should be corporate specific and unique to really pose the value factor to the market. So to emphasize that kind of dimension, you have now the process modules as one complexity driver, you have the technology on top as another dimension of the complexity driver, and if I'm able here to pose the security question in the center of my speech, you have the security questions on top. So we heard before that security is certainly a barrier to really at least discuss some topics in terms of cloud readiness, in terms of cloud usability. So we need to consider this whole complexity, and in addition, I don't want to do this. In addition, we have to have a time factor. So whenever we're going to a business process project, we have a time factor to consider, because over the lifetime, we have certain phases to discuss and to analyze very carefully over the life cycle of the processes. So in the beginning of each project, we have to design the processes. And according to my understanding, and this is what I would like to share with you, it's important to have here the fundamental layer quite carefully set, because the design of the processes, the selection of the processes, the identification of the processes under the light of cloud, under the light of security and compliance requirements, is the fundamental layer when it comes to the process design. Because whenever you have set the right set of process landscape in that multidimensional environment, you're then able to set up a business case that considers as well the fraud and the risks that are inherent in the processes and potentially can be quantified while going to the cloud. You can as well have the IT component better qualified, and certainly you have the process optimization, and on top the cloud readiness to do an even further, more efficient and more optimized and less costly process. So having said that cloud design and having the process design carefully done under the light of compliance, you are then able in the next phase to evaluate the generation of the processes based on cloud or based on even a hybrid solution implemented into the company, going then to a compliance by validation, because then once you're going into the implementation of the process, you need to be able to capture what you have promised with the design. In terms of testing cycles, in terms of patterns, you have to provide a certain security to the company that the data are still secure even though they are moved to the cloud. Because still, and this is German law, you have to have the proof of concept that the data, where you still own that data, are secure. You have to prove this to your customer, otherwise your whole business model might get really bankrupt rather sooner than later. And then going to the true implementation, meaning a process implementation as well as a technology implementation. And yes, quite frankly speaking, we have the challenges of testing, especially when it comes to hybrid models, because you have the own IT, you have to consider the service provider, you have to test the whole value chain, even though you might not hold the full ownership of that value chain anymore, but you need to provide a certain reliability that the processes still run as seamless, as efficient as it potentially run while you have the whole IT in your environment. And then, certainly, once you have implemented everything, the life cycle might be completed while doing the monitoring, because the whole cycle and the whole issues and project might not end with the fact that you have implemented something successfully. You have to be able to provide a monitoring that goes beyond your corporate borders, that includes as well service providers, that includes as well the cloud services. Because at the very end of the day, you need to A, make sure that the process runs seamlessly. You need to B, provide a sustainable platform to be able to continuously optimize the processes, no matter if they run into the cloud or not. And certainly, and for some customers and in some markets, this is a very significant success factor. You need to be able to have a sustainable guarantee that the data are protected, even by external auditors. So I have to find a concept and a monitoring approach that is able to provide these kind of auditability, since this is a unique factor, since this is a key differentiator to the market. And of course, once you do the continuous optimization, and this is totally independent if you're going to the cloud or not, you then go, hopefully, to a continuous design and optimization. Even though within the cloud, it might be another dimension that needs to be added. And this dimension is certainly a true IT integration to the processes. This is much closer than within normal process projects, what we felt at the moment. And this needs to be much closely monitored and evaluated. You have another dimension that needs to be considered. This is not the IT interface I'm talking, but it's the dimension of losing full control of the data. And on top, no, I'm finished. And on top, you need to consider as well the technology and the trustworthiness of the technology and the provider that needs to be considered while designing very carefully how and with which processes to move to the cloud. Thanks so much.
Thank you.